Hi, everybody. Welcome to the first Entrepreneur's Secret, where we are going to share some insights on growing and evolving a brand. I'm so excited to be here with some people that I already know well and love talking to. So I love that we're having this virtual coffee with other people and bringing everyone else into the conversation. I'll introduce myself first. I'm Lee Deas of Obviously, and we are a fully integrated marketing company. We do great work with great people and have fun doing it. And I'm here today, hopefully, to share some of just my insights from our 15 plus years in business, working with thousands of brands at all different stages, and just what we've seen and learned along the way. We also have Brad from Accountfully, who has been such a great resource and insight, I know, to me and all the tons and tons of companies that they work with, from small businesses to big brands and a lot of CPG companies. And they have this really great philosophy, which I love, that is really trying to figure out how to modernize accounting. No business suits, paperless, just doing things in a completely different way, very software based. And also, humble brag, they've been on the Inc. 5000 list multiple times now. And then we have Monique and Chevalo of Charleston Gourmet Burger. I bet a lot of you have already heard of their fantastic products. They have this great line of seasonings and sauces and burgers, and they've been on the Today Show and Good Morning America and Food Network. And then they also have their own incubator that they do for growing CPG brands called Recipe for Success. So excited to talk about that as well. And first off, just hi, everybody.
Hey,
Hello.
how are you?
Hello.
Good to be here.
It is great to chat. And for the audience out there, just know that if you have any questions, we want to make sure we hit on all of them. Just drop them in the comments and we're going to get to them at the end, and we'll make sure that they're all covered. So Monique and Chevalo, I'm going to kind of start with y'all and have this I'll start with, I have this philosophy and I want to see if you agree. And so you can tell me if this is like right or if I just need to give up on this. But I really hate this concept of fake it till you make it. Like that phrase has always bothered me, because I believe that what we do as entrepreneurs is very creative and it's an art form, and you're not really faking anything. You're honing your craft every single day. And I feel like if I was a guitar player and I was going and playing coffee shops, no one was saying that I was just faking it until I got discovered on a national stage. They would say, oh, look at Lee out there honing her craft and like really working in it every day and perfecting it to make it better. And then also, like, what is making it? You know, like, what does that even mean? Like, I felt like I made it when the first time that I could just like pay my rent from my company, like that was it. I was done. I didn't need to do anything after that. Like that was it for me. So I know that y'all really were working on shaping your craft and honing your craft at, like, you know, backyard barbecues and farmers markets and growing it from there. And you may have felt at that time like, I've made it. Like we sold product at a farmer's market. That was great. What has just like, what's your philosophy and what has your view been on when it kind of felt like, okay, like we did something here, like this felt really great. We took this to a level I didn't know that we could take it to. Just, do you have any like thoughts around like when you get to that moment, some good next steps? It's kind of a multi-tier question. First, I want you to tell me I'm right. That's like goal number one. I want to know the moment where you're like, all right, we did something. That feels really, I'm really proud of myself. That feels really great. And then just third, like, now what? Like, what do you do when it goes from hobby to business?
I think our answer is going to surprise you because like my uncle said to me a few years ago, how does it feel to have made it? And I remember I laughed so hard and I told Chevalo,
Right.
and I was like, what is he talking about? We're
Right.
still trying to make it. Like, we don't feel like we've made it. But to people on the outside, they're like, you have a show on Disney Plus. What do you mean? You know, but you know, it's like Oprah says, you know, the problem with accomplishing a dream is then you dream a bigger dream.
Right.
And so you're always dreaming bigger and bigger. And so for us, we haven't changed. We don't really feel like, at least I don't feel like
No.
we've made it. I don't.
The enjoyment is there, the passion is there, the interest is there in what we do. And when it gets to the point, to me, when we're talking to other people and other people are enjoying what we're doing and we're able to inspire other people, that never ends. You still have that quest for it. You still have that drive to do what you're doing. And it's so gratifying what we do, having a consumer packaged product and being able to have that in grocery stores or being sold online. It's gratifying, and it actually it inspires people that they can dream, that they can do something that's just in an idea and turn it into something tangible, and that never gets old. So if
Yeah.
making it is having that turn get old, then no, I don't think that's right.
But I will share with you, there was one point a
Mhm.
few years ago, we were the featured speaker, small business speaker at Facebook's Global Business Summit, their marketing summit.
Out in San Francisco.
Out in San
Mhm.
Francisco, in front of 5,000 Facebook employees. And so, that was a whole experience going there. But what happened was, after we got off stage, someone was like, man, you guys went right after Deepak Chopra. And I was like, what? I was like, he's here? Like we were on the stage where he just spoke. And I was like, did you know that? And so this whole thing, it's going totally over our heads. We have like hair and makeup, and we have escorts and security, and we're just like, Chevalo and I are just easygoing, going along with it. It's going totally over our head, like, what is happening? And at that moment I was like, well, maybe we have done something, that we're on the stage, with great people like this. And so, sometimes we'll have moments that we're like,
Yeah, pinch yourself more.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a big one. Y'all
Yeah.
have so many of those, which I'm so excited to get into today. I've heard I've heard y'all tell the stories a few times about just your partnerships with these big groups like Walmart and Amazon and Meta, like you just mentioned. And I want to get into a little bit later, the kind of breaking that down. Like, how does that happen? Like, what's the magic in that? And then what's the work that goes into that? And kind of going back to that feeling, though, of like, well, love the philosophy. I'm sure so many people here can relate to. For all entrepreneurs, I think the passion and the joy is in just being able to set a new goal and to set the next thing and to keep going, and this sort of like insatiable, feeling of wanting to grow and grow and grow yourself and your capabilities and see what's next. And want to know in the beginning, like when you went from farmer's market to what? Like, what happens next? Like, how do you grow from that phase to the next one? How did you evolve from that incredible place to the next incredible place? Like, what does that roadmap look like?
Well, what was exciting with us, or actually was really a challenge, was when we started at farmers markets. Here's the thing: we came up with our recipe in our backyard, and then the thing is, we said if our family and friends liked what we have, we kind of have to see if other people like it. So that's how we use farmers markets and doing special events, was just to see if, a kind of a proof of concept. And when other people started liking what we had, one, it gave us a eureka moment, saying that this is something real. But to move to the next level, we had to figure out how to do that. And so advertising was part of it, to get more people interested. But we didn't have a budget to do TV or radio ads. So our only way was to use social media and use Meta, Facebook, to be able to do organic ads and actually do ads that were specific for targeted ads. And that's when college students were able to hear about us and know, hey, Saturday, we're gonna be at the farmers market downtown Charleston. We would never think that anyone would come in the morning to eat a burger. So we really we were there, but we weren't even serious about having burgers in the morning, until people started lining up.
They were like, at 7 o'clock, are you ready to set up yet? And I'm like, what? Do you know what time it is? It's some of the what you but people were like, we're ready to have a hamburger.
But why I mention that is because how we used Facebook Meta in the way of having targeted ads in that area to then grow our business. And then when we had that proof of concept, we bottled what we had and started putting that in different areas and using targeted ads. Somehow their algorithm saw that this is a small company that started out just doing that with little ads, little posts, and targeted ads, and their algorithms actually came and chose us in a way that it had them reach out to us and say, you know what, you may be of a company that we would like to talk to represent or to be part of the Facebook Leaders Network.
We were using every product they had.
Yes.
We were using every, because we didn't have any money for.
All I'm hearing in this whole entire story is that marketing's the answer to everything. That's all I heard.
Well, I'm going to tell you, it really is the answer to everything. Mm-hmm. We didn't have, a lot of money. So any kind of free resource or a resource, that, didn't require a ton of capital, we were using. So we would post, I would do a post on Instagram, and then I would send it to Facebook automatically. And then we would do vice versa. We were using the ads. And so when Facebook reached out, I deleted the message. I said, this is spam.
Yeah,
it's no way Facebook's not reaching out to us. So I was like, delete. And so we got another one and I deleted it again. And so the next one came to our email. I deleted it again. And then we got a phone call and it said Facebook. And I was like, those emails weren't fake. And so when I answered, the lady's like, we've been trying to get in touch with you. And I was like, I've deleted every email. I honestly never would have thought that they pay that much attention to who's using their platform and how you're using it, but they do.
And it's not like we had the biggest revenue of any business. No, it's really about the effort that you put into it and the consistency in your posting and the consistency in your involvement with the social media network that had us get the attention.
So when you started like getting the feedback, the customers, the following, clearly revenues and sales grew, right? What did you like? How did you guys like factor in and look into like overall buying your products, raw materials, putting your products together? Like, your mind can go from just executing to now I have more customers to reach, more inventory, finished goods to make. Like, how did you transition that from a world of also, I don't have a budget, I have no money to do this, I'm doing everything myself? Like, what was the path like that for you guys?
Well, in the beginning, we did something that, Lee, you probably will not recommend to everyone. We had a dream team. So we had a little bit of a team. So we had a graphic designer. We had someone that did all of our branding and everything to make, because we wanted to look like we were a big company, even though we were running this from next door to our bedroom. Go out of our bedroom, hook a left, and that's where the operation was happening. But we didn't want to look that way. So we hired a branding. We actually had a publicist.
Yeah, but I don't want to backtrack or cut, but that came about really out of necessity. All we wanted was a website at first.
Yes.
Really, all we wanted was a website. Just because we knew about consumer products did not necessarily know we knew about everything. But when we went to the website person, the person asked, well, don't you have photography?
Yeah, we didn't have.
So we progressed into that. Yeah.
And so we did end up, because in the beginning, Brad, you're right. How do you transition? How do you go from one to the next? We didn't know what we were doing.
Yes.
We honestly didn't know. Chevalo's idea in the beginning was, we'll make these hamburgers at home and we'll go to Walmart and get that vacuum seal machine and vacuum seal them, and we'll put them in our freezer and we'll ship them. And I said, we'll kill people. We can't do that. Like that cannot be the operation. Like we will be out of business. So we ended up, with our little team, our publicist was the one that said, you guys need a co-packer. We didn't even know what that was. And so so we ended up getting a co-packer and just developing relationships. That really helped us. But once we got in the stores and we started getting these massive purchase orders, $20,000, $30,000, $60,000, people dream of those things, but I'll be honest, it was scary because one, how are we going to pay for this? Because we were like, oh, we didn't think of that part. Like we got to actually pay to get this stuff manufactured. So we had to think quick. Okay, we got to figure this out. Like, how are we going to come up with this money to pay to get this stuff manufactured? And we did. We ended up doing factoring. We ended up taking on, figuring out how to use someone else's money to get this stuff made. So we ended up figuring out that piece of the pie. But another important part for us is we had to learn how to budget. We had to learn how to say, okay, even though this money is coming in, this is not all of our money. This money has to go back into the business, because we now we were starting to play big. We were starting to put some money into our marketing. So we had to do 25% goes to marketing. Then we had to have money set aside to pay. Once we got on QVC, we had our personal QVC representative. We had to pay her. Like we had money going out. So we had to really, really be smart and intentional and not spend what came in. It went back to the business. It wasn't like, woo, let's go buy a Ferrari. Like, no, we cannot do that. We have to put it back in the Charleston Gourmet Burger. And
I'm curious what you're seeing. We're talking a lot about financing, things like factoring, budgeting, all these different, things that you consider when you're growing a business. And what do you see? Like, are there any just standards or, main points that you would make that watching all these different companies at different stages, especially coming through COVID, it kind of like took the veil off of some companies that maybe weren't like set up in the proper way, but it felt good for so long that you didn't have to really get into it. Any like big recommendations that you're like, I can just say sweeping across the board, this is probably not the right path and there's a better way to do it when you're growing, especially like a CPG company where you have to be thinking about inventory and there's this balance between pulling in money and money going out that's so constant?
Yeah, like I think just number one, today's May of 2023 here, like it's a completely different environment now than it even was 12, 24, 36, even pre-COVID, with everything that's going on. I think one thing, it's just the practice of having good fundamentals and being disciplined. Chevalo Monique, you were saying, like, don't spend the money that comes in, like allocate it, understand where it goes, and then spend it. Having that discipline is a big part of this, right? I think there's a shifting mindset here from top line growth in the CPG space, grow the revenues, get money in, go to the next round, series seed, seed A, seed B, grow revenue. Everybody's going to come in. I don't care about profits. It's getting shifted now to more profitability, focusing on profits, focusing on cash flow, focusing on fundamentals of a business that have been around for hundreds of years. So with that being said, I think a big part for the small business is having your ducks in a row, having your books in order, up to date, understanding like your profits, your revenues, your COGS, your margins. Because for a couple of reasons, it's this. Number one is if something happens, you have that information ready to go to support the PPP loan, for example, in COVID, right? If you didn't have anything in order, you have your tax returns done, well, you had to get in line before people got it right away. Number two is I recommend to the entrepreneur, the small business owner, to start looking at this like when we all were planning to buy our first house, right? You're looking at things, you're saying, this is going to be a 2-year plan. I'm going to do this. I'm going to my credit score up. I'm going to, get profitable. I'm going to do this, and that. And you have a roadmap to get there. I feel like a lot of business owners don't have a roadmap to get to where they go to the next phase or how am I going to get to the next tranche of money or whatever. They're just going executing, when now we need to step back and say, okay, I'm going to try to get bankable with the SBA loan in 2 years. How do I get there? What's the roadmap to get there? In the meantime, I'm going to leverage friends and family, credit cards, high debt, fintech loans, etc. Don't pay myself, keep my expenses minimal, do marketing myself, hustle myself, accounting, do accounting myself, those types of things that get you moving forward. So understanding kind of the overall phases of your business, but then also always looking strategically in terms of how to get that finance, how to get that funding. And, Chevalo Monique said they went factoring. And I asking you, Chevalo and Monique, on this, like, how did you guys identify that? And I love your story because it's great because you have no idea what was even going on with co-packers or factoring or anything. So like, it sounds like you learned everything, which is fantastic in terms of what you're doing for kind of the community now and all the other things you have going on. But how did you figure out about factoring? Like, what was that whole like process like? Did you raise your hand? What's that?
Before y'all answer that, will y'all give a quick overview of what co-packing means and what factoring means for anyone who might not know?
Yes.
Yes. So co-packing is a contract manufacturer. Basically, those are companies that are able to make what your idea is. And in food, it would be a food co-packer. And so if you have an apple pie, they would make your apple pie to your specifications, and they would do it with signing a non-disclosure agreement so they won't take your recipe. So that's a contract manufacturer. And a factoring company is a company that would advance you the money after when you have a purchase order, which we had to learn because big box retailers wanted our product. They wanted it, but in order to produce the product to get to their distribution centers, it costs tens of thousands of dollars that we just didn't have liquid at that moment. So a factoring company will advance you the money, but in order to make the inventory to give to the retailer, but then in turn, when the retailer pays you, they will pay the factoring company and they'll take a percentage of it. And then what's left over will be given to us.
But we didn't know that in the beginning. And so we went to one of our dear friends who, he is very well versed in the financial community in Charleston. And so we went to him and it was like doom and gloom. He's like, what's going on? And we were like, we have these purchase orders and we don't have any money and we can't pay for them and we don't know what to do. And he was like, that's your problem? He's like, wait a minute. Do you actually have purchase orders? And we were like, yeah, we do. And he's like, oh, you just take the purchase order and you're just going to do factoring. And I was like, what? Is that easy? What is that? And so we had no idea that even existed at all until, he ended up, teaching us about it. And so we were like, really? That exists? And so within that, something that we had been like driving ourselves crazy with and we were sick about, it was like in like 5 minutes, it was like done, handled. We now have the money to pay for all of this product. So it was good. But it goes to show, and it's what we tell people inside of our Recipe for Retail Accelerator. If you have a problem, don't sit in your living room and sulk over it and be so upset because what you think is a problem, someone else has the solution for. You think it's a problem. It's probably really not a problem. It's probably something we're going to just be like, oh, this is how you do it. Exactly what happened to us. And it's so important to get out there and network, make connections and ask. Because if you don't know, you don't know. None of us were born knowing all of this stuff.
Exactly.
You have to learn. You have to get out there and network and meet people.
I want to open up for some questions soon, but you mentioned just networking and also getting these big purchase orders, which leads me to one of my all-time favorite entrepreneur stories of any company I've ever heard from. And it's how y'all figured out your partnership with Walmart. So if you would humor me and walk us through what that looked like, how did you go from this smaller, more localized brand into this national distribution with Walmart?
Well, you got to understand just quickly before we were trying to we create a wish list. Like Monique and I, and of course, Walmart's the biggest one. It's going to be on our wish list. We had Costco and Kroger and all of that, but Walmart's the big one. So we had tried. We had done it. Says if you want to be a vendor with Walmart, submit this email here. Submit your items. We did all that and got nothing. no response from anyone.
But we would get an automated response that would be
Yes.
like, at this time, we're not interested. And so for me, I was like, well, they just don't know us yet. They like our product is going to be in Walmart. So I was totally ignoring the no. And so what I would do, you know, we talked about, you know, fake it till you make it. And so when we were at the farmer's market, because I am a person, I believe in speaking what I want into existence. I believe in the universe and energy and all of that. And so what I would say to people at the market, I would give them their hamburger, and Chevalo would be in the back cooking. And I would say, you'll see us soon on the grocery store shelves. Follow us on social media. And then when the people would walk away, Chevalo would be like, why would you say that? Or we don't know. And I'm like, we're going to be in retail. And so I would tell everyone that. And so one of our friends, she is a doctor. She was invited to speak at this event that Walmart was having. And so it was in Atlanta, Georgia. And so she sends me an email and she's like, Monique, did you know that this was happening? And I was like, no, I had no idea. And when I looked at all of the people that were on the email that were copied, it was all of the people that we had been emailing, trying to get in touch with, but they weren't returning our email. And so I show Chevalo the email and he starts typing. He's like, dear whoever, you did not send us our itinerary. And I was like, oh, I'm like, I'm like, these people are never going to let us in. And so I'm like terrified. And he's so proud. He hits send. And so the person responds and they're like, I'm so sorry. Here's your itinerary. And I'm like, what in the world? And so we're prepared. We're going to go to Atlanta. And so what happened was,
we had an issue that day, though.
We had an issue. Our children, like Sunday night, we had to go on Monday. They were like, oh, we don't have school tomorrow. And we were like, what? Like, what do you mean you don't have school? It was one of those teacher work days that they don't put on the calendar. And we had no idea. So I was like, oh, we're just not going to go. And Chevalo was like, no, we're going and we're bringing the kids. And I was like, we can't do that. And so we go and we get there and we're going to registration and like everyone's kind of like, who are these people with kids, like 2 kids? And so, you know, we do the registration and it's like a small conference room. And so they had like a continental breakfast in the back. And so in the room, it's big, but it's small enough that it's intimate and everyone's like talking to each other because, you know, they were invited and they know each other, but no one's talking to us. They're all kind of just like looking. So we make breakfast for the kids and we sit down in the back. And so they go through their whole meeting. We stayed till for the whole meeting. And then at the end,
projections and sales and all the corporate
all of that stuff. So we stayed there and we acted interested in everything they were saying. And at the end, the person that's leading it says, if anyone has any questions, make your way to the front, but be brief. And Chevalo goes, this is it. Let's go. And I'm like, what is happening? And so he goes to the front and he starts pulling burger sauce and marinade out of his pockets. And he does a whole presentation at the microphone. I am like terrified. I'm looking around for security. Like we are going to get put out of here. But after he stopped speaking, they pulled out their business cards and they said, we want you to be in Walmart. And like, that is how we met the decision makers. And a few weeks later, we were on a plane heading to Bentonville to the home office, to Arkansas. And that is how we got into Walmart.
Did you bring your kids to Arkansas?
You know what? We didn't. And that is that's the first thing they said when we got there. They were like, where are the kids? That was the first question they asked us. Where are your kids? I'm like, they're at school today, actually. But that's how we got in Walmart. But Walmart it just seems like the funniest things happen to us at Walmart after we got in. And, you know, we were doing really well with the marinated sauce. We expanded our product line to hamburgers. And so we had another meeting at the home office. And at the meeting, I noticed there was a little old man that had on like a vest. It looked really beat up. So I said, oh, he's probably a volunteer. He had like a lot of medals on the jacket. So I took his hand and I said, you're coming with me in my meeting. I'm going to serve you a hamburger. And he's like, no, it's okay. I'm like, no, you're with me now. You're coming in my room. You're going to come eat some hamburgers with me. So I made this man sit in the room with me. And the buyers come in and they're looking and they sat down. And so we're going through the whole presentation. I forced him to eat a hamburger in the room. And so this lady comes in and she's like, I have to take him now. And so I'm like, oh man. So I'm like, okay, well, it was nice meeting you. So when he leaves the room, the buyers say, Monique, do you know who that was? And I was like, no. I was like, who is it? They're like, it was like the CEO or president of Walmart USA. I had no clue that I manhandled this poor old man, but he sent his assistant back and he's like, tell her that was the best meeting I had all day. And so, but I was
and he
like,
loved the burger.
and he loved the hamburgers. I was like, Walmart has something that just like makes us just totally just go for it. I don't know what it is. So 2 crazy entrepreneurial
but we
stories.
don't teach that approach.
It's not part of
in
our
recipe for retail.
Yes.
Well, I think part of the approach that y'all are bringing in, which I love so much, and just think is good business advice in general, is just, you're speaking this into existence, but you're also not just talking about how you're going to go do a thing. You're just out there doing the thing. There's no time to talk about it because you're out there just being about it. And I think it gets harder as a company grows and you get a little bit larger. What I've seen with our own company, what I see with other companies that we work with, is becomes a little bit more about plans and big team meetings and, let's all like get on the same page with our strategy, all very needed things, especially as you're scaling. However, when you don't want to lose that thing of, let's just get after it. Let's go do it. Let's like get in the ring and go shake some stuff up. And, instead of having a meeting to talk about doing something, let's just do the thing right now. And you can't, there's no magic that marketing or accounting can put on a company if there isn't a great entrepreneurial spirit, I think also that stays, with that. We do.
Yeah, I would also say on top of that, it's like being authentic to yourself. Like when there's so many now like network and groups and even like on Slack or specific to CPG brands, you can say, how did you do this? How did you do this? There's a function of learning, but also like you still have to be yourself. What is your brand identity? Like who you are. Like I can tell after a 30-minute conversation here who you guys are. And so like even to everybody listening, like don't ever lose that as well. And I think that's a big part of clearly what marketing does is identifying who you are, who's your business's authentic self and executing at that level.
Absolutely. We were just talking with our class about opportunities that we've gotten aren't in the past. It's not necessarily because we gross the most amount or we've put the most amount through.
Yeah.
It's
because of our brand story, because of the marketing. And people do not realize how important that is, which is one of the main reasons why, when you're in our accelerator, we have you hire a copywriter to go over your brand story to make sure because that's like the nucleus of all of our success. And so with us having this great partnership with Meta and with Amazon, when we first got on Amazon, we had just gotten there. Our products were just loaded in. We weren't, the highest grossing company, as Chevalo said, because we had just started selling. But we started immediately getting featured and pushed to the front because one, we are the brand. This is who Charleston Gourmet Burger Company is. We're the founders, we're the owners. We're not afraid to show who we are. A lot of people want to hide behind their brand, and you really shouldn't do that. But also facts tell, stories sell. We are also marketable because of our story.
Yeah.
It helps. Walmart for years, we were their featured vendor. We would travel with them to New Orleans every year. And so in different things.
Yeah.
Because we're marketable because we have that story. So it's so important. Don't just put on your website about us, oh, I'm from here and I have a great product. No, I'm like 4 lines. No, what is the story? What is your why? Why are you doing this? Because people want to feel that. They want to be involved in that. And that has really been the key for us having these great partnerships with these brands. That's been the key.
And it's counterintuitive though, as small business owners, it's counterintuitive to really talk about yourself in our stories. And definitely at the beginning, definitely did not want us and I didn't want people just looking to buy our product because, they see us or they feel whatever it is. I wanted just our product to stand on its own. But no, once we realized and did that transformation in our thinking about it, then things started to happen for us that people, and when somebody gets our burger marinade or eats one of our burgers, they're not just getting a nice burger, they're getting a piece of us.
Yeah.
And we realized that that is the key to success. And we're so happy that we made that transformation.
We owe that to our publicist when we first started, Libba Osborne from Leapfrog. She's the one that told us that, because Chevalo's like, no one's going to want to buy from us. We're just going to stay in the back. No one needs to even see us. She's like, nope, you're getting out there. And that's the best piece of advice we ever could have gotten, because, you know, we followed her. We followed her advice, and it has paid off.
One thing I was just going to add to that story, and then I want to get into these questions that we have, is we'll often have companies that come to us and say, like, I want to get into Walmart, or I want to go these next places. And it's kind of this big lofty thing that we have to figure out how to all connect the dots together. Like, we have to get into sales and operations and all the things on what that journey looks like. But they usually will have an idea in their mind of how they think that happens. So I'm coming to you for PR, and that PR is going to help me get into Walmart. What we always try to pull back is, let's just first like kind of figure out this goal and then evaluate like all the different pieces. And like one of the great clients that we worked with, that they came in like really wanting that PR plans. To what you were saying about the story, we realized they had this incredible story that wasn't being told anywhere. And also their package design was just not there. So they're really excited to get into Whole Foods. And we know from just, you know, working with a lot of brands, like to get into Whole Foods, if you don't have a story and if you don't have great packaging, that is just not going to happen. Like that first step isn't going to go. Then if you happen to know someone who knows someone who knows someone to make it happen, and you get on the shelves too quickly, you don't get that opportunity back. And like those are sometimes the things like people aren't thinking all the way through. And it's just such a nice, like, it works best when there's this really nice partnership. Like you mentioned your dream team and how you're all really connected to the goal and kind of problem solving on that together.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a couple questions for y'all that I was going to throw out. So one is, first off, how do you know when to grow your product line, and what's next for y'all in your product line?
Listen to your customers. Yes. They will guide you, because it's not really about what you want. We always think it's about what we want. We could put out what we want and our customers may never buy it because it's not what they want. Listen to your customers. They will tell you. So we know our customers want a barbecue sauce. We know that. We know we have a lot of customers that have dietary restrictions. So we know that they want a clean label barbecue sauce that is low sugar. So that's something that we started working on before the pandemic. Obviously, it got halted during the pandemic. So now we pick that back up. Plant-based products, we know that that's something that our customers have been requesting for a very long time. So we have a few sauces coming out. We're working hard on the plant-based. So you will definitely see our product line growing very soon. So we're working hard on that behind the scenes.
That's great. And then a question for everyone, and I'll start with you, Brad, is best or worst business advice that you've ever received?
I would say the best was when we were, I don't know, when Accountfully was in its infancy, before I knew you, Lee, when we were probably one person or two people. It resonated me with the question that somebody posed to me is, or I was reading a book, it was, and it said, how are you going to make this firm or this business bigger than Brad Ebenhoeh, right? And that literally was the best advice I ever got, to like thinking bigger, right? Of like, okay, that makes sense, but how do I do that? What does that look like? And so just an overall kind of, I think, reframing of where my business was and where I wanted to take it, and understanding that it was bigger than me. I think that was a really big kind of advice to me, to like understand like strategically where do I want to be in 2-3 years, and what does that look like, and how do we then grow to that level. So I would say that really helped me from an advisement standpoint.
That's
great. How about you guys, Chevalo, Monique?
Yeah, well, the best business advice I ever got that we ever got that resonated with me was only take advice from someone who is in the particular niche that you are interested in and has been successful. Everybody else, it's mere speculation. Only take advice. So we only sought out people to talk to and people to give us advice that were relevant in the industry and real time in the niche that we were interested in. And that was the only way that for us to be able to get great advice in real time and what was happening, especially with the way how retail just changes 1 minute to the other. Got to go only get advice from people who are actually doing it. So to me, that was the best advice.
And I will say the worst advice we've ever gotten was to change our name. Don't use Charleston in the name, and don't make it a burger marinade. Don't do that. And so obviously we didn't listen, but that was the worst advice and we knew it was bad advice when we got it. So we were like, we're not doing that. Like, we're going to keep Charleston because that's where we're from. And we're going to own what we have. We have a burger marinade. Even if you've never heard of it, you heard of it now. That's what we're doing. And so we didn't follow it, but that's the worst advice we've ever gotten.
I can think of so many too. I think relevant, maybe especially for today and like growing a CPG brand, default, and I overuse this in my company, is fix your DNA before you replicate it. I think a lot of people talk about scale. A lot of people talk about growth. And to your point, Monique, of like listening to your customers, it's like really getting to are we ready? Why are we doing this? Is now the time. I think we all could have grown our companies exponentially and much faster. But what you're trying to do is create, the best and the right thing, and really listen, to your customers and provide the exact thing that you're passionate about and that is going to work and be great. And to have those moments just in life with yourself and then in your company, to just pause and get still and see, what do we want to work on getting better? And then let's go build on that.
Yes.
That's great.
Absolutely.
What is, I guess I have one question for Chevalo and Monique. What is, to answer in a couple of minutes, what's keeping you up at night today?
It's funny. What keeps me up at night is how to stay relevant, how to reinvent ourselves. And it's funny. That keeps us up. That at least keeps me up, thinking about that all the time. How are you going to come up with new ideas? Things are changing. But I'll tell you something crazy is that we did a podcast. We were chosen to do a podcast with the president of McDonald's Corporation. They flew us to Chicago, us with our little burger company, talking burgers with a guy who's running 14,000 McDonald's restaurants. And they asked the same question, Brad, that you just asked, but they asked us separately. And I told the same answer. What keeps us up is staying relevant and reinventing ourselves. They asked him the question, what did he come up with? The same answer, reinventing ourselves, staying relevant. And at that time, Amazon was coming through, taking over stuff. And he's like, listen, he was frank with us. Amazon can come in and the way how they're delivering stuff and Uber Eats and those sorts, that's the stuff that keeps him up. And he said that you can be a startup. He said you can be a startup like us. And it's possible to put a dent or even possibly take out a major corporation like McDonald's, the way how commerce is nowadays. So it's crazy that the same question that you asked me and the stuff, that's what keeps us up at night. And it's just on a different level, on a different scale, but the same things, reinventing ourselves. What keeps you up?
Good job.
Oh, okay. It keeps us up because when I'm up, Monique is up too.
I'm up too, and he normally tells me why he's up, so we're both up.
Figure it out. We're trying to figure it out, but it's crazy to know even the big corporation, they're battling the same. They're battling the same stuff.
Awesome.
Well, thanks everyone so much, not just the three of you for being here, but for anyone else who took time out of your day. I know time is valuable, especially, with everyone out there hustling, doing their thing right now. So we so appreciate it. And we'll be having more of these Fully Obvious series. And I hope you can tune in for those as well. Big thank you to all of you. And appreciate you today.
Thanks, everybody.
Well, we had fun.
Thank you.
Bye.